first of all, who do you want to be the next Tory leader? 0207 862 2222, that's the number you need. You've only got two choices, Kemi Badenoch or Robert Jenrick. The winner of the Conservative leadership race will be announced tomorrow. A chance to become the new leader of the opposition has come up after former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak stood down from the role following the Tories' defeat in the general election back in July. So do you think Kemi Badenoch has what it takes to go all the way to number 10? Or is Robert Jenrick the man you think is more qualified to lead the Conservatives? Well, let's start with the man with the inside gen on all of this. Charlie Rowley, I know you're going to be there when the winner is revealed. I think possibly in Trafalgar Square tomorrow morning.
Somewhere around there, about 11 o'clock, we think we should have a new leader of the opposition. As you say, either Kemi or Rob. I think it's going to be Kemi. I think both of them are put on a very good show.
Yeah.
They've both got great qualities, but I just think on balance, the membership and the momentum over the last couple of weeks seems to have been behind Kemi.
And why? What is it about her?
I think there is a recognition, I think, amongst most Tory members that actually we need to pause. You need to listen to the public now. There's not a time necessary for policies. Rob has come in very hard to appeal to a lot of the Tory membership. And we've got to remember, it's an election amongst the Tory members. So what they're saying at the minute might alter when they actually sort of get the crown of leader of opposition.
When you say come in very hard, I mean, he's come in very, very right-wing, hasn't he? Particularly down on migrants, also immigrants, also pretty much everyone else, really.
So he's gone out and said, look, his decision, he would leave the EHCR. So when it comes to that, being part of the European Court, we are going to leave. And he thinks that if he gets the leadership of members back, that's his mandate. That's what will bring the party together. So we can, for once and for all, forget about talking about Europe. That's the mandate. That's what everyone will get behind. Kemi, on the other hand, is saying we don't need to make those decisions yet. It might be the case that we need to leave the EHCR, but she wants time to go through all of the options. She wants to engage with members. She wants to engage with the public. She wants to know and do a process of that thought process in all policy areas before coming to a conclusion. So she's just saying, I'm the more steady candidate because I want to have that process. I want to be able to reconnect with the public. And she's quite outspoken. She'll talk about equality and, the safeguarding in schools. She's called a lot of things out.
I mean, she's very outspoken, and that's one of the things that some people say has counted against her because she's considered to be quite confrontational, a little abrasive sometimes, not necessarily somebody who's going to bring peace and harmony wherever she goes, or even sort of delightful good manners, but somebody who might, look for a bit of a ruckus and, kick it up a few notches.
And she said a couple of things that's caused a bit of controversy in the papers, but some things that play well with Tory party members. So saying she'll sack 10% of the civil service. Now, I don't disagree with that. I think that's
one of them jailed.
I think that's.
They said they should be jailed.
Well, yes, I do think that's. Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Let's bring Kevin in briefly here, because obviously you're not keen on either. I think you haven't.
I'm not a natural conservative.
No,
I think
not
it's
a natural
fair.
conservative.
And I think that the choice is a rock and a hard place. And I think just watching from afar their race, I would have thought Tom Tugendhat, the former security minister, or James Cleverly, the former the Home Secretary and Foreign Secretary, would have been a better choice, because you've got to appeal to the right.
Too late.
Yeah, you've got to appeal to the right. You've got to think, how do you get reform voters back from Nigel Farage, and at the same time, how do you get a few of the people you lost to Labour and the Liberal Democrats back? It's an incredibly difficult job. You've got 4.5 years hard graft, but looking from it outside, I think it's probably better to gamble on Kemi Badenoch than to go to Robert Jenrick, as they call it. He'll be whatever you want. He's been on a journey from a Cameroon centrist Tory to going on to the right. Is he really a right winger? But the problem she has, or with her, is when she opens her mouth, she often puts her foot in it. And I quite like her direct approach.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We've got journalist and panellist Angela Epstein down the line, just to get a different view and see who floats her boat on this one. Hello, Angela. Thanks a lot for joining us. Is it Kemi or is it Robert for you? Which do you think has what it takes to do a Herculean task, really? It's so difficult.
Well, it is Herculean. Good morning, everybody. It is Herculean, but also I would wager it's probably a caretaker role as well. I think there's very few people who would consider that whoever gets elected on Saturday is likely to be campaigning for the general election in 5 years' time. So within the context of that, I think with Jenrick, what I prefer is the fact that he has had experience, got longer tenure. He's had experience of more complex portfolios, housing as well as immigration, and I think he has, if not a stabilising sort of position, he's certainly robust and he's direct, and he's saying, you know, the party has been at sea. We know all the things we know all the reasons why they didn't get elected, although they didn't get elected because they were bad, not because Labour were good. And I think whatever anybody says at the moment, we've seen from Labour's manifesto promises, those were thrown out the window at the budget. So people can say what they like when they want to be elected, and then they can go off-piste. But I think in terms of Jenrick, I think he's solid in terms of what he stands for. I think that things like immigration, controlled legal immigration, is very important. You know, I think that will appeal to those who have gone off to reform because they feel that the party doesn't stand for true core conservative values. And I think in terms of steadying the ship, yes, you need somebody who's calm, but also you need somebody who's robust, who's going to say, this is unequivocally what I stand for, and at least make no mistake about that.
And do you feel you don't know what Kemi Badenoch stands for? Do you feel she hasn't been robust enough? Because lots of people criticise her for being too robust, if that's a thing.
I think the word you used was absolutely right, Vanessa, when you said abrasive. I think there's a difference between being abrasive, which is rubbing people up the wrong way and sort of not choosing the tone correctly, and being robust in terms of being focused. They both come, I mean, look, I'll be fair, they both come with baggage whereby, you know, as Kevin said, opening their mouth and putting their foot in it. They've both said things that are not really, you know, totally acceptable. Kemi, about maternity pay. Robert, there's been a few things, but in terms of where we are now and needing a leader for the Conservative Party to somehow get back on track and steer them through this embryonic stage in opposition, I think he very much is the man for the job.
Right, let's see what everyone else thinks. Thanks, Angela. Helen's on the line in London. Helen, thanks so much for ringing. Morning to you. Is it Kemi or is it Robert for you? What are you thinking?
Kemi. Reluctantly, I say Kemi.
Tell you're having a good old cough there. We hope your cough is okay. Tell me about why you say reluctantly. Why reluctantly?
Because she's a right-wing nutter.
Oh, God, OK. Well, that's a trenchant answer. You could say that's an answer worthy of Kemi herself. My gosh. Really? Do you think so? You think she's a nutter? Why do you think that?
Oh, she's just so off the wall. My dad described her as a very bad word indeed, which I can't say.
No, don't say it. Don't.
No, I won't.
No.
I won't.
No, but you still prefer her, even though your dad calls her a word we can't use on the telly and you think she's an absolute beep. Why do you then prefer her to Robert Jenrick?
Because he's got zero charisma, and there's nothing worse than seeing someone totally unelectable campaigning, and it'll just be unbearable in 4 years' time. So I'd rather see a good fight and have a good, healthy opposition.
Well, that's very important. Of course it is. Helen, thanks so much for the call. Gosh, very, very delighted that you managed to rein in the language there, because otherwise we're all in terrible trouble. Let's talk to Stephen in Essex. Hi, Stephen. I know you feel very passionately about this. Good morning.
Yes, I do. Yes, extremely so.
Yeah.
I think basically that it should be Mr. Jenrick, because of the fact the first thing he's going to do is sort out the Southport incident. There's another 4 incidents.
Wait, what do you mean he's going to sort it out? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, he's going to address... Sorry. I mean, he's going to take Mr. Starmer to task on that issue. And there's another 4 issues that we're being... there's a blanket ban on regarding the other 4 incidents that there's the airport incident with the firearm.
Right, but I mean, don't you think that Keir Starmer already addressed the ramifications of that tragic Southport incident robustly, very quickly? We saw jail sentences for rioters. They seemed to vault over all the waits and delays in the judicial system so that it was all seen to be done. We saw justice dispensed very promptly. And I think lots of people thought that Keir Starmer did take that awful bull by the horns in that particular instance, Stephen.
That's the point. He went after the so-called. If you disagree with him on these issues, he went after the far righters. We're not far right. We just disagree with certain aspects of it, and we're all being tarnished with the same brush.
All right. From your avowed position on the far right, you feel as if Robert Jenrick would plead your case and would act in your interests better than Kemi Badenoch, do you?
There's another. Yeah, you're trying to shut us down. There's another 4 incidents regarding the
all right,
airport.
yes, you've alluded to that. Thank you very much indeed.
There's no shutting down, but when there is a court case, you're limited in what you can discuss in advance of that court case, so there can be a trial, the jury can reach its verdict, and the families of the Southport victims can get justice. Yes. That's why debate is limited ahead of a trial, so there can be justice. Don't deny justice to those families in Southport.
Yes, nobody's trying to shut anybody down for nefarious reasons on this at all. Stephen, thank you very much indeed. And Angela, thank you so much for joining us. Always good to see you on the programme. After the break, we're going to be taking more of your calls about now your calls on who you want to be the next leader of the Tories. Is it Kemi Badenoch or Robert Jenrick? The result will be revealed tomorrow. But first of all, we're polling you. The number 0207 862 2222. That is the number. Let me dash over to our beautiful effigies of the 2 candidates and see who wins your result, your rosette. So we've had 2 votes already, previous callers. Stephen voted for Robert and Helen voted for Kemi. So let's go to Sharon in Staffordshire. Hi, Sharon, morning.
Oh, good morning, Vanessa.
So where am I going to put your rosette? This is the question.
Now, my rosette will definitely be for Kemi.
Really? OK.
The reason why is that Kemi is very outspoken, and I don't think she'll tolerate any nonsense from anybody, or even anybody from the Labour Party. She's very outspoken and she says it as it is, and I think she'll be perfect. Now, Robert, I just find him a bit boring. I don't think he's got that much say about him. He hasn't got that thing about him at all.
You're not worried that Kemi might rub people up the wrong way? Lots of people have said that, she's so outspoken that somehow, politics needs a bit of diplomacy, a little bit of oiling the sort of waters, pouring oil on the waters, and that's not her thing.
Vanessa, being outspoken, there's nothing wrong with that,
I mean, what would I know about that? What would I know about outspoken, opinionated women? I mean, why are you even discussing that with me, Sharon? Honestly, hiding my light under a bushel as I have all my life. I must agree with you. I do agree with you. Let's just run this past Charlie. I mean, you're favouring Kemi too.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, look, there's nothing wrong with being outspoken, as Sharon was saying. And I think, look, Rob is a polished performer. He's done well on the media, more so than Kemi. But, and so there is a case to say you need more diplomacy. You need someone just to be able to steady the ship, whereas Kemi might be a bit volatile in some of the things she says. But I think out of the 2, you've got to be able to articulate the issues that the country faces, and she's the one that's probably can get more attention from the public.
At the moment, we've got 2 rosettes for Kemi, only 1 for Robert. Let's see what Graham in Essex has to say on this one. Hello, Graham. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, Vanessa.
Morning, sir. Who gets your rosette?
Without a doubt, Kemi.
Oh.
I'm afraid. Well, I don't want to say I'm afraid. I'm quite. I'm rooting for her because, as the previous, was it Sharon that just rung up? I think she's got a bit of forefront. She's not frightened to, state a point. And to be perfectly honest with you, she's been in the sort of news a little bit lately for being outspoken. But I think that's what's needed. I think as far as the Tories are concerned, over the last recent years, I think they haven't had that bit of essence where there's someone that's going to be there and take their own party and the opposition to task.
Do you think there's a danger, as Angela Epstein was suggesting, that this might take so long that a leader might bite the dust if the Tories don't make great progress in the polls, and we may have another Tory leader before the next election?
It all depends, in my opinion, if Kemi did get it. I mean, saying about Robert seems to be a bit of a wet week to me, to be honest. And I think with Kemi, if she can hold the party together and guide them in the right direction, I don't think there's going to be a problem. Because, in my personal opinion, is. And don't get me wrong, Kevin might disagree with me on this one, but I think the actual Tories lost the last election and Labour didn't win it. If you follow what I mean, they were so bad, and it was a tail wagging the dog, really.
Do you agree, Kevin?
I largely agree with you. I think that election was a referendum on the Conservative Party, Conservative government after 14 years, and Labour only got 34% of the vote, 1 in 3 of the people who voted. although they've got a big majority. But do you think, and look, she's a gamble, but I think where the Conservative Party is, you're probably better to take a gamble than going with Robert Generic, who I agree is a bit wet. But do you think she'll make it for the 4.5, 5 years almost to the next election, or do you think she might be a caretaker and out, as Angela said, in 18 months?
I actually think, Kevin, that she's got the ability to see it through. Whether the media and you know the other sort of forces sort of pull her to pieces, I don't know. But I really believe that for personality-wise and forefront, I reckon she could do the job and hold it.
Graham, thank you so much. Let's go to Linda. She's on the line in Kent. Linda, I'm giving out rosettes today morning. Who do you think will get yours?
I'm going to go with Robert.
Ah, OK. Why have you chosen Robert? You've heard him be absolutely maligned by everyone else so far, saying he's got no charisma and he's very boring, even though he's been making these unbelievably, to some people's view, right-wing pronouncements all over the place. What do you think is the reason that you've chosen him today?
Well, because I have had telephone canvassers and I ask a particular question to both of the canvassers, for both people.
Yes.
But Robert actually got back to me and answered my question.
What was your question?
It was to do with Maidstone Airport.
Right. And you liked the answer that he gave, did you? Or was it just that he was...
I wanted to find out their views on that because that's very important to us down here.
OK. And you liked what he said impressed you. Linda, thank you. Let's move to Roger. Roger's in Carmarthenshire. Hi, Roger. Which of the two for you?
Well, good morning to you all.
Morning.
I spent a couple of hours with Robert in the last couple of months.
Yes.
And very approachable, very nice person. But I don't think he's got the authority within himself to pull the party together. So my vote goes for Kemi.
Wow, well, look at this. She's covered in rosettes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 so far for her and a mere 2 for Robert. I thought you were going to say I spent time with Robert Genrick. What an impressive character. Nobody really realises the force behind the man. But you're not saying that.
No, he is a very nice guy. Both of them are eminently qualified. But what we need within the party at the moment is someone who's going to bring the rank and file together and actually unite them, because actually the Conservatives need to produce a very good opposition, because all governments, the Labour Party in this instance, will only do better if it's got a good opposition. And that's the same for the Conservatives when they were in power. If you've got a bad opposition, then you are weak as a governing party.
Words of wisdom there, aren't they, Kevin? 100%.
No, absolutely. You do need an effective opposition. Who knows what's going to happen in 4.5 years' time? But, you know, Roger got something there. I think she has got an authority. Yes, she can go into an empty room and start an argument, but Robert Genrick can go into an empty room and it's still empty. He just doesn't have that presence.
And I think what was telling in the budget, also, Rachel Reeves poked a bit of fun at Kemi from something, which I think that means that Labour fear her the most.
All right, thank you so much.